Welcome to the channel where history, science, and absurdity crash like a mime reenacting a hailstorm during a tax audit. From ghost divorces to prairie dog fashion critiques, we serve chaotic facts, spicy sarcasm, and zero chills. Hit subscribe, because learning is better when it feels like a meme with anxiety. In 1923, the play The Adding Machine featured a robot replacing a human worker, which was super weird for its time because robots were more science fiction fantasies than reality. Audiences probably left thinking, great, now even drama can predict our job anxiety. In the Amazon, there's a fish called the candiru that can swim up your urine stream if you pee in the river. It's real, it's terrifying, and it turns your relaxing jungle vacation into a medieval cautionary tale. In Mesopotamia, scribes were the original office workers, except their laptops were clay tablets, and typing meant jabbing sticks into wet mud. They spent hours recording grain shipments, king gossip, and tax demands. Imagine spending your life writing receipts that crumble if sneezed on. And yes, they were paid in beer. In the Philippines, balut is a fertilized duck egg with a partially developed embryo inside, boiled and eaten with salt. You bite through feathers and bones like it's no big deal. It's a street snack and a rite of passage. Imagine an omelet that punches back emotionally. In North Korea, Kim Jong-il once legalized exaggeration about his greatness. State media claimed he hit 11 holes in one his first time golfing and never pooped. These weren't jokes. These were state-approved facts. North Korea, where being a dictator means legalizing myth-making, like it's Marvel origin story time. When Pablo Escobar was negotiating surrender in the 90s, he tried to make it legal for him to build his own prison. Spoiler, it worked. He lived in La Catedral, which had a disco, a waterfall, and a phone line for business. So yes, he made it legal to turn prison into Airbnb Kingpin Edition. The obsession with fair skin in India started long before fairness creams got their own supermarket aisle. Ancient texts associated light skin with upper castes and divine beings. The darker your skin, the lower your presumed status, as if melanin paid rent in the caste system. It was less about beauty and more about built-in hierarchy. In the early 17th century, in England, a girl named Alison Device cursed a peddler after he refused her pins. When he had a stroke later, everyone screamed, "Witch!" The lesson? Don't insult teenagers, especially when they're poor, moody, and living in a society that thinks grumpy, pubescent energy equals dark magic. In 1590, Scottish women were tortured into confessing they rode storm clouds to sabotage King James's ship. The weather was bad, so clearly it was women on invisible sky brooms controlling the thunder like it's an early Netflix original. Basically, Blame Witches was their version of a bad Yelp review. Jingle trucks are Pakistan's glitter-coated transformers that look like they crashed into a disco ball factory and came out fabulous. These trucks are overloaded with neon paint, metal chains, bells, tassels, and poetry, as if an 18-wheeler had a spiritual awakening and joined a circus. They jingle because of the dangling ornaments that make music with every bump. In ancient Rome, rich people dyed their togas with Tyrian purple, which came from thousands of crushed sea snails. Each snail had one drop of mucus, meaning one robe needed a mollusk massacre. Basically, your luxury status depended on how many ocean snot extractions you could afford. The British colonization cranked that obsession up to colonial cringe. Fair skin became the badge of power, wealth, and a literal ruling class. Indians began internalizing whiteness as superiority, and suddenly everyone wanted to look like they'd been raised in a cloud, not the subcontinent sun. In Moroccan culture, henna isn't just decoration. It's like spiritual bug spray. People use it in ceremonies to ward off evil, bless babies, and protect brides. It's the only time drawing on your hands makes you look like a holy warrior who also knows fashion geometry. In Sudan, henna is part sacred, part flex. Women rock it not only for weddings, but also for major social events. They use it like a power-up. The richer the color, the more social clout. It's less accessory and more, do not talk to me until my fingers are maroon. Even grandmothers line up for their weekly palm glam. In ancient Rome, kids played with clay dolls that had removable heads, which they'd sometimes offer to gods during puberty rituals, because nothing screams "I'm growing up" like decapitating your childhood toy and sacrificing it to Jupiter. In the early 2000s, Justin Bieber got a full sleeve tattoo because his crew was all about ink bonding. He later admitted he had no idea what half the designs meant and just went along with it. Somewhere on his arm is a confused-looking owl judging him forever. In medieval Europe, beavers were considered fish by the Catholic Church, so people could eat their tails during Lent. Apparently, a flat tail and a confused monk were enough zoological evidence to declare it holy seafood. Imagine telling your kids, "We're having fish tonight, and it's just beaver butt stew." Master Oogway's departure in Kung Fu Panda was less goodbye and more, "I'm about to evaporate into cherry blossoms like an ancient turtle wizard." One second, he's handing over destiny to Po. The next, he's floating into the sky like Yoda crossed with a bonsai tree. No explanation, no warning, just peace out, turtle style. Fish rainstorms have occurred in places like Honduras, where tornado-like waterspouts scoop up fish from lakes and drop them onto towns. Imagine walking outside and getting slapped by a tilapia from the sky. Nature just occasionally decides to play a round of seafood surprise. Benign tumors can grow teeth, hair, and even eyeballs. Yes, eyeballs. These freaky growths, called teratomas, are like your body's way of saying, "What if we built a creepy doll inside your torso?" They're harmless in terms of spreading, but they win gold in horror show aesthetics. Have you ever heard of a building getting rebuilt after a fire even grander than before? That's what happened to the Temple of Artemis. After someone burned it down in 356 BCE, they rebuilt it using marble. They even put charcoal and fleece under the foundations to make it strong in marshy soil. During World War I, doctors faced a big challenge: keeping their tools clean in dusty, muddy battlefields. To stop sickness from getting worse, French medics used special portable machines that cleaned surgical tools with steam, heated by camp stoves. This smart idea really helped fewer soldiers get very sick. A cookie recipe so secret it was like a treasure. In the city of Torun, Poland, they have a gingerbread tradition going back to the 1400s. Back then, special clubs guarded the recipes tightly. These delicious gingerbread treats were a big part of their town's identity and special events. What do you call a baby kangaroo? A joey. How about a baby goat? A kid. Well, if you see a small, fluffy puffin, you might wonder what its little one is called. It's super cute and easy to remember. A baby puffin is called a puffling. Think about how we write today with letters that make sounds. Thousands of years ago, writing was much harder, using tiny pictures. Then the Phoenicians came along and made things much simpler. They created an alphabet with just 22 letters, which helped spread writing and became the basis for Greek and Latin. Have you ever tried to teach your pet a trick? Maybe to roll over or fetch? Well, some animals are smarter than you might think when it comes to technology. It turns out that pigs, with their clever minds, can actually learn to play simple video games using joysticks. There was a time before computers when someone kept track of thousands of books by hand. In 1633, a scholar named Katip Celebi from the Ottoman Empire did something amazing. He created a list of 14,500 book titles, making one of the biggest book catalogs before modern libraries existed. Think about two things that seem very different: food for plants and materials for big explosions. In 1915, a chemist named Fritz Haber figured out how to create ammonia. This discovery was used to make fertilizers, which helped feed billions of people, but it also helped make explosives for wars. Picture this: giant objects in space colliding. For a long time, scientists thought black holes and neutron stars could merge, but it was just a theory. Then, in 2019, scientists finally heard the sound of gravity from space. They detected gravitational waves from a black hole merging with a neutron star, proving this incredible event happens. A place where people from all over the world come together to share ideas and learn. In Baghdad, there was a special center called the House of Wisdom. Here, ancient writings from places like Greece, Persia, and India were turned into Arabic. This helped save and grow knowledge in math, astronomy, and even medicine. Before computers, map-making was basically the ultimate mix of art, guesswork, and squinting at weird landmarks. Cartographers had to eyeball coastlines, measure distances using chains or ropes, and basically play a giant game of connect the dots with rivers and mountains. Sometimes they made up entire islands just because they thought it looked cool. Maps often had sea monsters and dragons drawn in blank spaces, not for navigation, but to say, beware, nerds, this is unknown and spooky. These doodles were basically medieval trolling before memes existed. Accuracy? Close enough if your town's not underwater. Surveyors used tools like theodolites and compasses while getting sunburned or eaten by bugs, slowly stitching together giant parchment puzzles. The whole process could take years, making modern Jeeps look like magic from the future. And cartographers were the original hipster explorers who made wandering less deadly but more colorful. A British woman once married a 300-year-old pirate ghost named Jack. She claimed they had a spiritual connection and even consummated the marriage. She later divorced him for being too possessive. Yes, she ghosted a ghost because he had jealousy issues from beyond the grave. Many cacao workers in West Africa don't even know what chocolate tastes like. Imagine working in a field your whole life, harvesting the key to world happiness, only for someone to show you a Kit Kat, and you go, "What sorcery is this?" It's like mining diamonds but never seeing sparkle. Sometimes the force of gravity causes facial distortions so wild they look like rubber masks melting. Pilots' cheeks flap, eyes bulge, and lips stretch into expressions that look like they're being sucked into another dimension. It's the only profession where G-forces give you a free, unwilling facelift mid-shriek. Prairies are home to prairie dogs, who are basically furry gossip columns. They have different calls for predators like hawks, snakes, or humans wearing weird hats. If you're walking through and they chirp, just know they're talking trash about your outfit in rodent Morse code. Whooping cough sounds like a party trick, but it's basically your lungs hosting an annoying karaoke contest where the whoop is your voice desperately begging for mercy. It sounds funny until you realize you're hacking so hard you might launch a lung into orbit. Not as fun as it sounds. Horses can sleep standing up thanks to a locking mechanism in their legs, which sounds cool until you realize they look like statues glitching mid-nap. They only lie down for deep sleep occasionally, like they're too proud to admit they're tired. Basically, horses power nap like emotionally unavailable gym bros. At the height of World War II, some Soviet soldiers, terrified of being captured, buried their own weapons and faked being civilians when German troops approached. Basically, they hit reverse cosplay mode. Ditch the gun, act confused, and pray you looked clueless enough to avoid a bullet. In World War I, some soldiers developed shell shock, so severe they couldn't walk or talk. Not by choice, but as a fear-induced neurological shutdown. Their brains went, nope, and just powered down like a lagging PC during a horror game boss fight. Chrisley Knows Best featured a Southern dad with zero financial literacy giving lifestyle advice while hiding bankruptcy. He was like a motivational speaker at a pyramid scheme convention, except with more Botox and fewer morals. His life was a tax audit in slow motion with family dinners in between. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Norway is an Arctic doomsday bunker storing seeds from every crop imaginable in case the world goes full apocalypse. It's basically the planet's pantry, chilling underground, with enough lettuce DNA to reboot civilization if broccoli ever goes extinct. The Japanese have a history of using camellia oil for cooking and hair care, which is basically like frying your tempura with flower power. It's light, fragrant, and makes you wonder if you're eating dinner or smelling a fancy spa treatment. There's a 17th century Japanese play called The Courtesan's Revenge, where the main character is a ghost who haunts the stage by floating in midair, kind of like an early horror special effect without CGI. Imagine the drama, but with invisible strings and probably a lot of ropes backstage. Newborn giraffes hit the ground, literally, because their moms give birth standing up. Despite this dramatic entrance, their brains immediately start mapping their surroundings. It's like falling out of the sky into a puzzle room, and within hours they're sprinting around like wobbly-legged detectives. Many victims of Hiroshima's atomic bomb suffered black rain, radioactive fallout, mixed with actual rain that burned skin and stained clothes. Imagine getting caught in a toxic rainstorm that's part apocalypse, part bad weather. No umbrella could save you from that nightmare. There's The Goat, or Who is Sylvia, by Edward Albee, which is basically a bizarre love story between a man and a goat. It's weird, uncomfortable, and weirdly poetic. A reminder that sometimes theater likes to throw you off the cliff just to watch you fall. In ancient China, there were officials whose full-time job was recording dreams of the emperor. His Majesty dreamt of dragons again? Excellent. Mark that down. These folks basically got government wages to interpret royal nap time. Today, they'd be called sleep influencers with bureaucratic flair. In 2017, a designer made a bracelet that's literally just a miniature handbag cuffed to your wrist. It holds nothing, like not even a Tic Tac. But for $800, you too can wear a useless purse for ants that screams, "I have money and no spatial awareness." In 17th century France, doctors used dried, ground-up viper flesh to treat everything, from indigestion to heartbreak. Nothing says romantic recovery like swallowing a powdered snake. Some even claimed it boosted strength because who wouldn't trust their immune system to a spicy reptile smoothie? During the Vietnam War, America insisted it was fighting for the South Vietnamese people's freedom by dropping approximately 400,000 tons of napalm and killing up to 2 million civilians. Villages were torched, families obliterated, and freedom arrived in the form of PTSD and Agent Orange-soaked rice paddies. In 2011, NATO's Freedom Mission in Libya aimed to stop Gaddafi's tyranny. Instead, it sparked a civil war, got Gaddafi killed in a sewer, and left the country overrun by warlords and open-air slave markets. They got freedom from dictatorship by replacing it with pure chaos and Kalashnikov diplomacy. Jet lag can interfere with digestion so badly that the gut's bacteria start releasing gases and enzymes at the wrong times. This leads to bloating, nausea, or sudden bathroom emergencies mid-meeting. The body's gastrointestinal clock runs hours behind, leaving you with a stomach that's partying in Bangkok while you're working in Boston. Ever heard of something being so cold that electricity flows without any resistance? That's superconductivity. In 1911, a scientist named Heike Kamerlingh Onnes discovered this amazing property in mercury when it was super chilly, almost at absolute zero. This discovery is why we have modern MRI machines that help doctors see inside our bodies. Noise pollution from traffic can spike cortisol levels and cause insomnia, even if you're not consciously aware of the sound. People living near airports or highways have developed something called highway brain, where they forget things, misplace objects, and rage at microwaves for no reason, all thanks to 3 a.m. truck rumbles. Water pollution has caused people to literally itch after doing laundry or showering. In some areas, detergent mixed with metal-heavy tap water creates a chemical soup that turns bath time into a dermatological roulette. 1 minute you're clean, next minute you're scratching like a flea-ridden gremlin in public. In 2007, Britney Spears shaved her head after being hounded by paparazzi and surrounded by enablers. The act became an iconic meltdown, but later she said she just wanted to feel in control. Instead, everyone made memes while she spiraled. Thanks, peer pressure, served with a buzz cut. Remus Lupin and Nymphadora Tonks died off-screen in the Battle of Hogwarts, like the director just got tired of emotional investment. No heroic moment, no farewell, just they died, moving on. It's like Rowling sneezed during the war scene and 2 fan favorites vanished into the tissue. Some office buildings install motion sensor lights that turn off if you don't flail your arms every 15 minutes. You're sitting still, working hard, and suddenly it's pitch black, like you're being punished for productivity. Congratulations, your job now includes interpretive dance just to keep the lights on. In the 2019 Cricket World Cup final, Kane Williamson captained New Zealand to what looked like a win, until England tied the match and the super over. The trophy was handed to England based on a boundary count. Yes, they lost a World Cup because the other team hit more fours. Literal heartbreak by math. When you lose a World Cup because the other team played more hopscotch with the boundary line, you know cricket turned into a math exam. Hit like, subscribe, and count your boundaries. In ancient China, fire pistons were used. Tiny tubes where rapid air compression would ignite a bit of tinder. Yes, they basically invented a pocket-sized diesel engine to make a campfire. Nothing screams overkill like using physics class to roast your dinner. In the Netherlands, an underground network hid children in attics, barns, and random basements. Sometimes they were sent to live as distant cousins with Christian families. One boy spent 2 years inside a piano crate because the Nazis were that close. Hide and seek, but the prize was horrifying. Many children were smuggled using forged baptism certificates and fake identities. Resistance fighters turned into full-time document forgers, making baby passports like a criminal nursery. Some kids didn't even know their real names until after the war. Holocaust identity theft was real, and it saved lives. The waters of the Blue Lake in New Zealand are so clear you can see over 80 meters down, like swimming in an enormous glass of pure magic. It's basically the world's fanciest bathtub, making every swimmer feel like a mermaid without the fins. In the mid-20th century, Papua New Guinea, a disease called kuru made people laugh uncontrollably before dying. It was traced to cannibalistic funeral rituals, where villagers ate the brains of the dead. Turns out, laughing to death was not a metaphor, but a prion-induced nightmare called the laughing sickness. In the 90s, study used MRI scans to prove women can multitask better, because their brains light up like Christmas trees, while men's look like a one-tab browser. The shocking scientific conclusion? Men can't talk and listen at the same time unless the topic is snacks or sports injuries. Irish folklore said a leprechaun's pot of gold sat at the rainbow's end. Joke's honest though, rainbows have no ends. So the leprechaun's basically running a lifelong prank, scamming generations into chasing glittery lies. People also think you must have a genius-level IQ to get rich, but half the billionaires out there started with mediocre grades and excellent audacity. It's not brains. It's knowing when to invest, when to bail, and how not to spend all your profit on NFTs of raccoons. In the vast Australian outback, some Aboriginal groups had little idea about European wars for centuries, focusing on their own survival and stories. The word war for them meant tribal disputes, not globe-spanning chaos, until colonization threw them into modern history's madness. Papua New Guinea's highland tribes lived in near-total isolation with their own local conflicts, but no concept of massive warfare. They basically skipped the Global War Netflix series until the outside world forcibly dropped the DVD into their lap. In 2019, scientists discovered a lost city in the Honduran jungle using lasers from planes, and inside were ancient pyramids and monkey statues. Locals call it the White City, or City of the Monkey God, which sounds like Indiana Jones had a fever dream and turned it into a documentary. The Inuit in the Arctic Circle dealt with survival against nature rather than war, so the idea of large-scale human conflict was alien. Their battles were more about ice and bears, making them some of the last holdouts of war-free existence before colonizers brought gunpowder drama. The lost Fabergé egg from the 1917 Russian Revolution vanished amid chaos when the Bolsheviks seized power. This tiny, jewel-encrusted masterpiece disappeared like a magician's trick, leaving collectors and historians itching to find what's basically the ultimate bling of royal eggs. The Roman Ninth Legion's Eagle Standard, a golden symbol of Rome's military pride, disappeared mysteriously in Britain around 120 AD. Losing it was like dropping your country's flag during a game, and historians still debate if it's buried somewhere or just a legend made up by bored soldiers. The original manuscripts of many ancient texts, like Sappho's poetry or some of Aristotle's work, were lost over centuries due to fires, wars, and careless librarians. Scholars keep hunting fragments, like literary archaeologists, hoping to piece together ancient brains that vanished into dusty oblivion. Senator Al Franken, a former SNL comedian, went from jokes about aliens to questioning defense budgets with a straight face. Watching a man who once wore a diaper on national television ask about nuclear strategy is peak "how did we get here" energy. Some avant-garde designers created gold-plated handcuffs that double as nail extenders. You basically wear a mini torture rack on your fingers and can't scratch your nose without risking a self-inflicted lobotomy. Congratulations, you've turned your hand into a medieval weapon with zero grip function. Hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades is a sandbox shooting game that lets you mess around with food, explosives, and physics. Ever wanted to shoot a sausage out of a cannon at an exploding rubber duck? This game said, reality is for cowards. In 1941, Hitler broke the Nazi-Soviet pact and invaded the USSR in Operation Barbarossa. He thought it would be a quick summer trip. Then winter came. Russia froze everything, including Nazi ambition. And suddenly, the Wehrmacht wished they had brought more than beachwear for the apocalypse. In Greenland, there's a dish made by stuffing hundreds of tiny auk birds into a dead seal, sewing it shut, and letting the whole horror ferment under rocks for months. It's served during celebrations, but honestly, nothing says party like unzipping a seal full of fermented birds. In some Mongolian traditions, a knife was placed under the birthing bed to cut pain during labor. So while the mother was pushing out a whole human, she had a murder tool chilling near her ankles as a painkiller placebo. In 2010, a study concluded that women have more taste buds, explaining why they notice subtle flavor differences, while men just think all soup is hot, wet stuff. This research helped explain why every man thinks expired milk is probably fine, and why women won't let him be in charge of dinner. The Soviet Union once sent turtles to orbit in 1968, just to see if they'd freak out or explode. They didn't. They just floated around judging humanity for launching reptiles before giving them helmets. Congratulations, Earth. Your space program began with airborne Ninja Turtle auditions. In the 60s, NASA tried launching a satellite full of copper needles into orbit to improve radio communication. They called it Project West. The result? Space litter. Aliens probably saw it and assumed Earth was shedding metallic dandruff, like a nervous cyborg going bald. During the 2021 World Test Championship final, New Zealand finally tasted victory over India, and everyone thought the curse was lifted. But then came the T20 World Cup final, where New Zealand lost again. This time to Australia, the cricketing equivalent of a school bully who always ruins recess. In 1930s Germany, Nazis claimed Jews were infecting the purity of the Aryan race like they were bacteria in a Petri dish. Hitler basically turned eugenics into a paranoid science fiction plot where genocide was just population control with a racist flair. Saving Germany meant mass murder by bureaucracy. During the Rwandan genocide in 1994, extremist radio hosts referred to Tutsis as cockroaches, who needed to be exterminated. Apparently, when you give machetes to everyone and dehumanize a group using pest control metaphors, genocide starts sounding like spring cleaning to warped minds. In the 19th century, the U.S. justified Native American genocide with the idea of manifest destiny, a divine right to expand westward. Basically, God told us we can take your land, kill your people, and feel really good about it. Colonization rebranded as a holy road trip with a body count. If you liked that wild ride through history's worst road trip excuse, smash that like button. Subscribe for more uncomfortable truths. And remember, manifest destiny was just colonialism with a glow-up. In some hotels, you can't turn on any lights unless you insert your room key into a slot. Forget your key? Enjoy stumbling into furniture like a budget horror film. It's supposedly energy-saving, but it mostly just causes toe injuries and rage. In Sweden, there's a church tax where even atheists end up paying to maintain church buildings because apparently disbelief doesn't excuse you from divine infrastructure maintenance. In early 19th century Germany, kids had death dolls, mini coffins with wax figures used to teach them about mortality early on. Nothing says goodnight like tucking your doll into its own tiny grave. Then there are streetlights on timers that turn off before sunrise and after sunset, like they're running on vibes instead of logic. Drivers suddenly get plunged into darkness because some bureaucrat thought the moon would help. Great idea if humans had night vision or headlights powered by hope. In some parts of ancient Rome, when a boy was born, the family threw a wild party where the baby's father would smash a clay pot to announce his manly arrival, because nothing says welcome to the world like smashing ceramics and scaring the neighbors. In 1854, Chef George Crumb got annoyed at a picky customer who kept complaining about his fries being too thick. Crumb sliced potatoes paper thin, fried them to a crisp out of spite, and served them up. The customer loved it, and thus salty rage gifted humanity with potato chips. In the late 1970s, James Dyson got frustrated with his vacuum cleaner losing suction. Instead of yelling at it like a normal person, he tore it apart and made 5,124 prototypes before inventing a bagless vacuum. That's 5,124 ways of saying, I have trust issues with dust bags. He ended up creating a billion-dollar business out of stubbornness. In parts of India, families used to tie a red thread around a newborn boy's wrist and parade him through the village on a decorated wooden plank, like the world's tiniest king on a royal float. Talk about a baby's first royal ride, minus the car seat. In the 18th century, beaver testicles were boiled into a tea that people swore cured headaches and hysteria. Imagine sipping warm beaver ball broth at brunch while discussing how sane you feel now. Bonus points if it was served in fine china, like it wasn't the weirdest wellness ritual ever brewed. In 2015, a French train passenger named Spencer Stone stopped a terrorist with his bare hands while on vacation. Dude was just trying to enjoy Europe and ended up tackling a guy with a big gun. It was no big deal. His backpack had more action than most Hollywood films. The Hollow Earth theory once claimed that oceans were just puddles on a giant shell, hiding entire civilizations inside the Earth. People believed entrances existed at the poles, with underground seas and advanced fish people. Basically, Atlantis on steroids with a side of sea monsters and absolute zero science. In 2007, Wesley Autry jumped onto subway tracks in New York to save a guy having a seizure while a train was coming. He held the dude down between the rails, and the train passed over them both. Man literally used his body as a human safety blanket. Foxfire, also known as fairy fire, is a glow that oozes out of decaying wood infected with certain fungi. Early settlers thought it was haunted wood. Turns out it's just mold trying to cosplay as a nightlight while nature slowly eats itself. The Atolla jellyfish produces bursts of bioluminescence when attacked, like underwater emergency flares. But instead of calling for help, it's like shouting, "Come rob me," to distract predators into attacking something else nearby. Jellyfish out here weaponizing their own glow like petty C-drama queens. Birds in studies sometimes get colored leg bands that confuse their mates. One study accidentally made a bird look too attractive, resulting in extra flirting and chaos in bird Tinder. Basically, it was an avian catfish disaster in a forest soap opera. In a bizarre experiment, researchers once tattooed pigs with numerical IDs. Imagine a pig with a neck tattoo that reads #435, looking like it just dropped a mixtape about mud and betrayal. Farmyard ink is apparently a real academic genre. Paget's disease causes your bones to grow too big and deformed. You get random bone thickening like you're glitching in a poorly coded video game. Your skull might decide to become a bowling ball, while your femur grows with the confidence of a skyscraper on caffeine. Melorhiostosis causes bone overgrowth that looks like wax melting down a candle. Doctors who x-ray it sometimes go, "Why does this femur look like it just lost a breakup?" It's rare, painful, and looks like your bones are slowly turning into Salvador Dali paintings out of spite. Jet lag affects hormone production like melatonin and cortisol, sometimes causing unusual skin breakouts, hair thinning, or sudden food cravings. It's not psychological. It's your hormones throwing a chemical tantrum because your pineal gland thinks it's midnight in the ocean while you're at lunch in Rome. In rugby, if you get tackled, you're not allowed to just lie there hugging the ball like it's your childhood trauma. Nope, you have to release it immediately, or the ref blows the whistle like you just committed a crime against sportsmanship. Apparently, possession isn't 9/10 of the law here. There's a rule where players must enter a ruck through the gate, which isn't an actual gate but an imaginary one. Miss it by an inch and you're penalized like you crashed the wrong party. It's like playing tag, but with invisible rules that only refs can see. In 2001, Kerala, India, saw red rain that stained clothes and buildings like cranberry juice gone rogue. Scientists say it was airborne spores, but conspiracy nuts screamed alien cells because, of course, when something falls from the sky and it's weird, aliens always get blamed first. In Japan, there's a national holiday called Respect for the Aged Day, where the elderly are celebrated like ancient Pokemon. It's all love and reverence until you realize some towns literally deliver rice cakes to everyone over 100. It's the only time in life that being old gets you free carbs. In medieval European households, peasants divided chores based on survival needs. Men tilled land, chopped wood, and died early, while women milked cows, baked bread, scrubbed floors, made clothing, gave birth in hay, and then probably went back to milking cows. The family dog was likely the only one not doing chores. In South Korea, there's Black Day, celebrated on April 14th. It's for single people who didn't get gifts on Valentine's Day or White Day, so they sit alone and eat black bean noodles in sorrow. It's basically a sad, noodle-themed protest against couple culture, and yes, it's wildly popular. Seals have been caught swallowing entire plastic frisbees, probably mistaking them for sushi platters from hell. Their bodies absolutely cannot digest them, so they end up burping out beach trash like confused aquatic raccoons trying to figure out why dinner tastes like a picnic table. The Hidnari family grows entirely underground, except for their horrifying meat-colored flowers that look like something out of a horror game. Oh, and they smell like feces to lure beetles. They have zero shame, no leaves, and no chlorophyll. It's like the plant kingdom's version of an unemployed couch surfer. The Welwitschia family is home to Welwitschia mirabilis, a plant that grows only 2 leaves in its entire life. But those leaves just never stop growing. It looks like a sentient pile of spaghetti having a midlife crisis in the desert. Botanists love it. Everyone else thinks it's a cursed shrub. In 2009, Silvio Berlusconi passed a law in Italy that gave him immunity from prosecution while in office. Basically, he made being himself a get-out-of-jail-free card. Imagine being so corrupt that instead of avoiding crime, you just rewrite the rules so being shady is a perk of your job title. If you think Uno has wild rules, wait till politicians start playing with the legal system like it's Monopoly. Hit that like, subscribe for more legal circus acts, and pass go dramatically. Ethical hackers can rake in 6 figures just to break into systems legally. They're paid to act like villains with permission slips. Imagine robbing a bank, then getting applauded for finding the weakest vault. It's like being Batman but in a hoodie. and with PowerPoint presentations instead of Batarang. Golf ball divers earn around $100,000 annually to fish out soggy golf balls from pond sludge and alligator-infested waters. Basically, it's professional dumpster diving in a fancy country club. It's the only job where you can wear scuba gear and still get attacked by a goose mid-rescue mission. In 2003, a team in Flores, Indonesia found skeletons of Homo floresiensis, tiny ancient humans dubbed hobbits that stood just over 3 feet tall. Archaeologists expected bones, not Middle-earth extras. Apparently, evolution had a side quest for compact, cave-dwelling mystery humans that no one ordered but everyone now fears. In Cambodia, there's tire soup. Okay, not real tires, but it looks and chews like one. It's actually a black fermented fish paste soup called prahok, and it smells like old gym socks pickled in sadness. Locals love it. Outsiders gag like they're being hazed by a Michelin star chef. In ancient Egypt, the concept of Ma'at versus Isfet mirrored yin and yang perfectly. Ma'at represented cosmic balance, truth, and order, while Isfet was chaos, lies, and disorder. Egyptians believed the universe was one tantrum away from collapsing if Ma'at didn't stay on top like the chill twin babysitting the chaos sibling. In Norse mythology, the balance of fire from Muspelheim and ice from Niflheim created the world. Not quite a friendly yin and yang duo, more like opposites violently colliding to accidentally make life. Imagine your freezer and oven making a baby and suddenly you've got elves and giants running around. In the 19th century, mummies were ground up into a brownish pigment called mummy brown, used in painting. Yes, they dug up Egyptian corpses, powdered them, and painted sunsets with them. Nothing says art like smearing ancient pharaoh dust on a canvas while sipping tea in polite society. In ancient Egypt, there were professional letter writers whose job was literally just writing love letters, complaints, and invitations for the illiterate. Basically, ancient ghostwriters with killer hieroglyph skills. Imagine being paid to write someone else's breakup scrolls in beautiful bird and ankle doodles. The Amorphophallus family includes the Titan arum, also known as corpse flower, which smells like rotting flesh just to attract flies. It's basically the death metal frontman of the plant world. Giant, foul, and unbothered by human noses. People line up for hours just to smell it and immediately regret their life choices. Ancient Egyptians used crocodile dung as birth control. Women would stuff it inside as a sperm-blocking paste. Science didn't support it, but desperation and zero modern options made reptiles the OG contraceptives. Honestly, if you're shoving gator poop into places, pregnancy isn't the only danger you should worry about. In 1916, British troops at the Battle of the Somme launched a massive assault after days of shelling German lines, thinking they'd wipe them out. Turns out, the Germans were just chilling in deep bunkers. As soon as the Brits popped over the trenches, they got mowed down. Instant regret now with bullets. In Hindu philosophy, Shiva and Shakti embody the yin and yang dynamic. Shiva is pure stillness and destruction, basically a cosmic introvert, while Shakti is energy, creation, and action, the extroverted powerhouse. Their dance balances the universe, like a cosmic couples therapy session where both partners also happen to shape reality. In 1994, Johnny Depp tattooed Winona Forever for Winona Ryder after a few friends hyped up their relationship like it was an eternal destiny. After their breakup, he turned it into Wino Forever, which sounds like a wine-themed pirate cult. Peer pressure gave him permanent heartbreak branding. Some Pacific Island cultures used sunstones, chunks of quartz and crystal, to focus sunlight like a death ray and ignite dry grass. It's basically nature's magnifying glass murder trick, but on a whole ritual level, where starting fire meant harnessing divine laziness. In Ethiopia's Hamar tribe, brides are bathed in cow dung smoke before marriage. It's believed to cleanse evil spirits and boost fertility, but smells like someone microwaved a farm. Nothing says ready for love like a smoky poo sauna while relatives chant and the cows side-eye you in judgment. In 2013, the Indian city of Hyderabad was casually going about its day when the sky hurled golf ball-sized hailstones like it was trying to win a cosmic game of dodgeball. Motorcyclists ran for cover like popcorn kernels on a hot pan, and roofs were left looking like Swiss cheese on anxiety meds. Pilots trained to perform anti-G-straining maneuvers, where they clench every muscle and grunt like constipated warriors just to stay conscious. Yes, real-life aviation heroes win their battles by sounding like they're wrestling an invisible bear while doing Kegels at 10,000 feet. Sleeping face down makes gravity your worst skincare enemy. Instead of beauty sleep, your under eyes collect fluid like they're hoarding for a flood. Wake up and boom, your eyes look like tiny bean bags stuffed with regrets and leftover pizza salt. In ancient China, foot binding was a marriage prerequisite. Girls' feet were crushed and bent from a young age to fit into tiny shoes that men found attractive. It was sold as elegant, but it was lifelong agony. Nothing says bride material like permanent bone damage for a flirty walk. In some parts of ancient Rome, a man's marriage transferred the wife entirely under her husband's authority. She had no legal identity, couldn't own property, and was basically promoted from daughter to houseplant with chores. If she wanted out, she'd have to stage a Roman legal drama and still probably lose. In Job Simulator, you experience thrilling tasks like making coffee and photocopying things in a world run by robots who think that's how humans used to live. It's a sarcastic dystopia, where a floating AI cube tells you how to human while you eat donuts at your boss. Senator Ted Cruz once left a press conference to passionately defend Dr. Seuss. Not healthcare, not veterans, just the right to read rhyming cats and hats. At some point, he turned into America's unofficial rhyming rights ambassador, while Rome or Congress burned. In traditional Maasai culture of Kenya and Tanzania, men herded cattle and chilled under trees, discussing warrior stuff, while women built houses, gathered water, raised kids, cooked, and sometimes even helped during cattle birthing. If multitasking were a martial art, Maasai women would have black belts and a side hustle in house architecture. Some potlucks have unofficial rules where you must bring a dish representing your heritage, turning the meal into a weird cultural mashup that's half delicious and half, what on earth is this? It's culinary roulette with a side of identity crisis. Italy's Lake Garda also flaunts insane clarity, where you can spot fish throwing underwater dance parties. Its crystal clear water is so pristine that even your deepest existential questions seem less murky. In Croatia, the Plitvice Lakes chain is famous for water clarity that's practically a natural kaleidoscope. The lake's transparency is so on point, visitors swear they can spot the future, or at least that lost GoPro they dropped last summer. Robert the Doll, gifted to a boy named Robert Eugene Otto in 1904, now lives in a glass case in Florida and allegedly moves, giggles, and curses anyone who mocks him. People send apology letters to the doll because, apparently, even cursed fabric, children hold grudges longer than your high school nemesis. The glass harmonica was invented by Benjamin Franklin when he got bored of rubbing wine glasses at dinner parties. He stacked bowls on a spinning rod, accidentally making an instrument that sounds like haunted angels crying. It became so creepy, people blamed it for insanity and banned it in parts of Europe. The steel pan drum came from 1930 Trinidad, born from literal trash, like oil barrels hammered by angry geniuses. British colonialists banned drums, so locals beat on junk until it started singing. Accident or rebellion? Either way, we now have music from what looks like a post-apocalyptic kitchen pot. The Merry Wives of Windsor has Falstaff trying to woo two married women simultaneously, and they team up to prank him mercilessly. The whole thing feels like a medieval sitcom episode where grown adults act like school kids with zero subtlety, proving Shakespeare had a thing for awkward social disasters. If you love watching Elizabethan clowns get roasted by sassy housewives with too much free time, hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more chaotic Shakespearean soap opera breakdowns. Macbeth has witches predicting future kings like a weird fortune cookie gone rogue, and everyone suddenly acts like murder is the best career move. The logic bends so hard, it's like Shakespeare dared the audience to keep up with supernatural chaos and family betrayal all at once. During Napoleon's Russian campaign in 1812, starving French soldiers reportedly ate their own leather boots, boiled with snow and bark to soften the chew. Imagine chewing your footwear just to get some protein while freezing in your socks and still having to dodge angry Russians on horseback. Michelin-starred misery. In the Vietnam War, soldiers used empty Coke cans as makeshift shower heads, mosquito traps, and occasionally booby traps. They also learned to drink purified rainwater out of poncho corners like survivalist origami. Nature tried to kill them, so they killed thirst with fashion accessories. A Midsummer Night's Dream throws humans, fairies, and confused lovers into a magical forest where logic evaporates faster than your patience during family gatherings. People fall in and out of love just because a flower says so, making it Shakespeare's wildest love is crazy experiment with zero chill. In early medicine, animal fat mixed with herbs was slathered on wounds as a healing salve. turning your injury treatment into a greasy, gooey mess that somehow worked. It was like combining dinner leftovers with first aid, a weird but effective remedy for the brave. They pushed the idea that bigger lips meant sexier vibes, leading to an army of people injecting enough filler to confuse wildlife. Suddenly, everyone looked like a pufferfish auditioning for a lip-sync battle, all in the name of beauty. Phineas Gage's 1848 accident, where an iron rod blasted through his skull, famously rewired his personality. From a friendly guy to a grumpy, unpredictable dude, he inadvertently helped science understand how the brain controls behavior. His messed up brain basically turned him into a rock star case study forever. In 1881, Charles Guiteau shot President Garfield and then went bonkers after a brain injury. Weirdly, he became a historical icon of insanity that sparked early forensic psychology. His messy mind accidentally built a bridge between crime and science. Talk about making history by losing it. Writer and artist Frida Kahlo survived a bus crash in 1925 that crushed her pelvis and spine. The pain and trauma twisted her creativity into legendary art. Without that brutal injury, her fiery, surreal paintings might never have existed. Brain and body pain fused into iconic masterpieces. Idi Amin fancied himself a man of the people, wearing goofy hats and joking around in public, but his rule was a brutal nightmare, with thousands killed. It's like watching a clown perform while the circus is actually on fire behind the curtain. Terrifying and confusing all at once. There's a mysterious disease called autobrewery syndrome, where your gut literally brews alcohol from carbs. Some patients get drunk just from eating bread or pasta, turning them into unwilling party animals with a yeast-powered hangover and no memories of eating garlic knots. Overdoing drugs can turn your brain into a chaotic nightclub where all the lights flash randomly, leaving you confused, paranoid, and sometimes hallucinating things that don't even exist. It's like your thoughts got trapped in a weird sci-fi horror show with no intermission. Back in the day, civet cats were trapped and poked repeatedly, so they'd release a musky goo from their anal glands. Used in perfumes, people happily dabbed this butt essence on their necks and called it elegance. Oh, darling, you smell divine. What is that? Oh, just feline anus secretion with notes of desperation. People have used heating pads for way more than just soothing aches. In the 1800s, they stuffed them with hot stones to keep their feet warm in freezing barns, basically old-school foot warmers before slippers got popular. Who knew your pain relief could double as frostbite prevention? In Japan, some folks use heating pads to keep their rice warm during long meals. Imagine a little electric hug for your sushi, because cold rice is basically a crime there. Heated carbs are a power move for keeping dinner vibes alive. In parts of Africa, termite oil was harvested for cooking, which sounds like nature's way of saying, why not use bugs for your BBQ? Termites get pressed for their fat, which locals turned into a cooking medium. Talk about high-protein seasoning with a crunchy backstory. Certain superstitions claimed that if you pointed at a rainbow, your finger would rot off. Yes, spotting colors in the sky was apparently so rude that Mother Nature would go full gangster and dismember you. Colorful vengeance much. Some drugs can wreck your organs like a demolition crew gone wild. Your liver, heart, and kidneys might throw in the towel because they weren't built to handle non-stop chemical abuse. It's basically turning your body into a do not disturb sign that nobody listens to. Some ancient animist beliefs claimed forests are actual living gods, not just homes for spirits. The whole forest was the deity. You didn't just pray to a tree. You apologized to it if you snapped a twig. Accidentally break a branch and boom, you've cursed your bloodline with sap-based misfortune. A designer once created a scale that doesn't show numbers, just emojis. Step on it, and you might get a smiling face or a crying poop depending on your health. Imagine being roasted by a pixelated emoji before breakfast. There's the belief that money will make you happy forever. Sure, it can buy you tacos and therapy, but if you're miserable, you'll just be miserable in a fancier chair. Possibly one shaped like a golden hand flipping the bird. Animal fat was also a secret weapon in old-school skincare, used to soothe dry skin and chapped lips. Forget fancy creams. Your grandma's greasy pig fat was basically a slap of nature's moisturizer with questionable scent choices. In 2010, a woman's body was found inside a chimney in Bakersfield, California. She had tried to sneak into her ex-boyfriend's house Santa style and got wedged in there for days before anyone noticed the human incinerator. Moral of the story, love dies harder than dignity. In 2014, cleaning staff at a Canadian mall discovered a body stuck inside a washroom wall. The man had apparently climbed through the ceiling to spy or hide, fallen into the wall gap, and couldn't escape. He became drywall decor for weeks until the smell became the building's most aggressive marketing strategy. The obsession with ultra-thin eyebrows was basically a corporate plot to sell endless tweezers and pencils. People plucked their brows to oblivion, ending up with a permanent expression of surprise and panic. Perfect for promoting anxiety-themed makeup tutorials. In India, the minimum wage can be as low as $2 a day in some states, depending on the job. That's less than a cup of coffee in New York, meaning you could be breaking rocks all day and still not afford a Starbucks napkin. Blood rainstorms occasionally freak people out when red-colored dust, usually from deserts like the Sahara, mixes with rain. Medieval folks thought the sky was literally crying blood, signaling doom. Turns out it's just airborne dirt with dramatic flair. Basically, the weather cosplaying a horror movie. Another unhinged theory says draining the oceans will reveal advanced alien cities buried under layers of crusty sea muck. Apparently, aliens didn't leave Earth. They're just chilling under all that water, avoiding taxes and watching us panic about rising sea levels. Some theorists claim draining the oceans will uncover ancient megamachines built by civilizations before the last ice age. These mythical contraptions are allegedly responsible for Earth's weather, so apparently Poseidon was just a tech bro with a water-powered climate remote. In Australia, the minimum wage is over $20 an hour, which sounds great, until you realize everything costs the GDP of a small island. You'll make bank, then spend it all on a burger that looks suspiciously judgmental. Samurai practiced by sitting under freezing waterfalls for hours to discipline the spirit. Basically, it was spiritual waterboarding with bonus goosebumps. If you shivered, you were weak. If you passed out, you were one with nature. The bombardier beetle literally shoots glowing hot chemicals out of its butt like it's the Elon Musk of bugs. This chemical reaction reaches boiling point in milliseconds and is used to blast predators with spicy, luminous butt sauce. Nature's got jokes and flamethrowers. In Venezuela, hyperinflation has made the minimum wage around $3 a month. You could probably afford one sock, not a pair. Just one lonely sock to remind you how capitalism can sometimes sprint off a cliff. There's also a practice where samurai would try to draw their swords and cut in under a second. So you'd get guys whipping out swords like angry magicians trying to murder time itself. Miss it by half a second? Guess you're sliced sushi in a real duel. In parts of India, families would tie colorful threads around a newborn girl's wrist, similar to boys, but with added bells or charms to ward off evil spirits. These baby accessories doubled as early warning systems. If the baby was fussy, the jingling was blamed on evil, not hunger or discomfort. Classic. Irina Sendler, a Polish social worker, smuggled around 2,500 Jewish children out of the Warsaw Ghetto using wheelbarrows, toolboxes, and even coffins. Sometimes she'd sedate babies and sneak them out in suitcases. Nazis were fooled daily while she practically ran an underground daycare disguised as a wartime magic act. Children were often taught fake Catholic prayers so well that they could fool SS officers during interrogations. One wrong word, and it was game over. Imagine 5-year-olds mastering undercover identities, while most adults can't even lie well on job applications. Childhood trauma with a side of espionage training. The Ottoman Empire in 1915 claimed Armenians were a threat to national security during World War I, so deporting and massacring 1.5 million of them was just a wartime necessity. Turns out, you can slap the word rebellion on genocide, and suddenly mass murder sounds like strategy. In 2013, a protester in France claimed that legalizing same-sex marriage would lead to people marrying dolphins. Yes, actual dolphins. The argument was made in public, with straight-faced seriousness, as if the legal paperwork for interspecies aquatic romance was already at the printer. In 2016, a Norwegian woman named Nano declared she was a cat. She claimed to hiss at dogs, could see in the dark, and preferred crawling over walking. She said she was born in the wrong species and occasionally wore a tail. The real plot twist? She still paid taxes like a human. In Japan, a man married a hologram of a fictional pop star named Hatsune Miku in 2018. He legally tied the knot with an anime character in a ceremony attended by friends and a $17,000 price tag. The only thing missing was the bride being, real. Some cacao workers use literal sticks and stones to break the pods open because they aren't given proper tools. Meanwhile, the chocolate industry rakes in billions annually. It's like sending medieval peasants to harvest gold while wearing flip-flops and then charging them to look at it. In Salem, 1692, a woman named Sarah Good was accused of witchcraft because she muttered under her breath. Apparently, not saying "have a nice day" loud enough meant you were summoning Beelzebub. She was poor, cranky, and talked to herself. Basically every tired retail worker today, but in Puritan drag. The Japanese sent a space probe named Icaros in 2010, not to find new planets, but to test a solar sail, basically a big kite for outer space. It was more about intergalactic windsurfing than science. Somewhere, Poseidon cried tears of joy watching humans try to yacht through a vacuum. A British man named Tiamat Legion Medusa underwent extreme body modifications to identify as a dragon. He had his ears removed, tongue split, and scales tattooed on his face. Somewhere between Game of Thrones and dermatology gone rogue, he decided being a fireless lizard was the ultimate life upgrade. In 2013, a study found men are more likely to take dumb risks when they think women are watching, like jumping off roofs or wrestling crocodiles. Scientists basically confirmed what YouTube already knew. Testosterone turns brains into stunt doubles if a pretty girl walks by. Darwin Awards were practically part of the experiment. Some conspiracy lovers think the Bermuda Triangle is a massive underwater alien base that sips ships and planes like soda. They claim ocean water hides, cloaking tech, and gravity warps. Because apparently, aliens love salty water and stealing boats for intergalactic garage sales.